Turning chaos into success, my story as to how I lived with the ADHD traits but succeeded through grit. Hi, my name is Aslam Katri. Welcome to the Growth Gap. Every week we talk about how we can bridge where we are today and where we want to be. And that is what my channel is all about. This is where I discuss my own trials and tribulations. This is where I discuss as to what it took for me to be where I was and where I wanted to be. And most of the time what you find is it's grit. It is the perseverance. It is wanting to do something with the passion. You see, we are living in the world where in today's society we are constantly bombarded. Everyone is a self-made millionaire on the social media. And every one of them wants to teach you. Every one of them wants you to become just like them, overnight millionaires. And they're ready to teach you. So now when you are a young man, not only you have your desires, you have your hopes, things that you want to do, but at the same time, mostly of us who are or who have the traits of ADHD. Now, I was never diagnosed with ADHD. I never went for a test, but I can assure you that if I did go for the test, I will be the poster child for the ADHD society. Because I know as to how I can lose my focus and my attention. Giving examples, my mind is just like, I got like 50 tabs open and each one pulling in a different direction. So it is very difficult. And everybody in this world right now is out to tell you what you should be doing and as to how you can become an overnight success, an overnight millionaire. Now that may be possible. Maybe some people can do it. Maybe this is something that has happened. Not in my lifetime, not for myself. I wrote my book, A Matter of Destiny, where I talk about my own trials and tribulations, where I talk about as to how I found myself as an international student thinking, having all the thoughts of looking for success, and yet how I endured the first few years, and as to how afterwards I worked, and as to how I worked with pain and sorrow, and just kept on going towards my goal, having on top of it the ADHD traits. So it's not something that's easy. Nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you that Steve Jobs had lost his business. That Steve Jobs had to work crazy hours at night out of his parents' garage. Nobody talks about, everybody talks about the instant success that he had. And yet when you go deep into his story, you will find out that it was more grit that kept him going. It was all the failures that he had. It's all the failures that continued, but he continued to learn from those failures. So it is so difficult when you're young and when you in particularly have the attention deficit. Now what do? You listen to these people who want you to become an overnight success. It basically has a reverse effect on people. What it does is it makes you feel like a loser. Now, nobody is a loser, and nobody should feel like a loser. It is just, this is how our society is geared up right now. There's so many people who have done so well, but they've done that well because of the perseverance. They've done this well because they have been resilient in their quest. These are the people who have done well in their life because they have stuck to it somehow or the other. And that is the perseverance that I'm talking about. That's the grit that I'm talking about. That's the grit that is required, that keeps on saying, yes, I'm putting in 13 to 16 hours a day. Yes, I still haven't got there, but I will get there. Not to say that you're not going to pivot, by all means, but never quitting. Always going forward. Because you see, what happens for a person like me, when I was starting, your mind is at so many places. You're thinking of so many things. And today it's the same thing. I mean, I will start writing a podcast and my mind will go somewhere else. So I have to keep on bringing myself back to see what I'm going to do. And it's so easy, speaking about my podcast, it's so easy to just get distracted and then just get disappointed and then just quit. I don't want to do that. I want to continue to do this. I want to continue to work on it. I want to continue to improve on what I'm doing, because I know that this is not a sprint, that this is a long-term project, that this is something just like marathon. And I'm so happy that I've participated in so many half marathons in my life, because this is what we require. This is what we need. This is what we need to understand, that things just do not happen overnight. That it takes the guts, it takes the grit, it takes that perseverance. It just keeps on just, failures are what we call the pillars of success. Because with the failures is that when we start to understand, it's the failures that teach us as to what we did wrong. And maybe you will not do that again. Maybe we will change that. Maybe we will do another different way. Maybe what we find out what is failing. So for my life, all my life, from building my family, to building businesses, to acquiring hundreds of businesses throughout North America, Europe, Asia, it was always a struggle. And I learned every day through my mistakes. And on top of it, I knew that if I don't hold myself back, I could be everywhere. That tab, those 50 tabs, are very difficult to manage. But I managed it. And I managed it with only one thing, and that is grit. So we need to have that resilience. We need to have the perseverance. Now, question is, how do we create that perseverance? You see, forget about the people who are telling you that you are going to become an overnight success, because there is no such thing. The overnight success takes many years of heartaches, many years of failures, many years of rejection. But then you come out and you start seeing things. Now, in my mind, these are the few things that I think. How do you find the grit? How do you find it? What takes you to that becoming that gritty? What is that takes you to the grittiness? And that is the very first thing that you need to do, is find your passion. Now, we have all discussed millions of times as to what passion is. And there are two camps. One says, don't follow your passion because it won't take you anywhere. And the other side says, follow your passion because that will take you. Now let me tell you how I feel what passion is. You see, passion is something, in my mind, not something that you're born with. Yeah, there may be a lot of talented people who are born with a lot of talents, but most of us, for myself, ordinary people. So how do you build a passion? For a guy like me, for a person like me who was always running around trying to do certain things. I think passion you find by doing things, by getting involved. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, when I came to Canada, I wanted to be an accountant, and so I went to McGill University. And I thought the academics will be very difficult for me coming as an international student. But I had another difficulty. I had another challenge. I felt myself being lonely. I felt myself being depressed because I was not in my familiar environment. So, how do you find your passion at that point? There was two things. Either just stay in the bed all day and do nothing and see what gives, or get up and start doing some work, working with an accountant's office. It is only by working, it's only by going there on a daily basis that I found that was my passion, that the business, the enterprises, that the companies, the meeting people. But I could have failed on that, because this is not something, even though my father would tell me all sorts of beautiful stories about it, but that's not necessarily was my passion. I wasn't growing up to become a big businessman, but you find your passion as you get into it. And I think the other part is, as you get into it, and this may be good for the parents also to think about it, because as you get good at it, once you start getting good at it, and once you feel that when you get good at it, that means now this stuff is coming to you easy. And so once you're doing it easy, once it comes easy to you, you start putting more and more effort in it. And that's what the passion is. See, I found in my life, every time there was a steps, small steps, but the steps kept on going up. Because one thing that I did was I never quit. The same thing, when I wrote my book, it was the same thing. I wouldn't know where to start a book. But I sat and I wrote. And you know what? After writing 5 sentences, 6th sentence becomes easier. Because that's what it is. It is giving the attention. It is sitting there and trying to do it. And yes, I know how difficult it is. So passion is not something maybe there are, and again, I shouldn't say nobody, I'm just talking about for myself, as to a lot of people consider passion, well, if I had a guitar and if I can sing a song, that's my passion, but there's so many other things in the life that you can find which can be the passion. And the only way you find your own passion is by trying things. And the only way you will find that by trying, and trying is only because you are not in the void. Like the days, and I'm thankful for that the days that I didn't want to get up, I got up. Because I knew that I will find something. So passion is not something that comes, but unless you have tried it, something sticks, and there's an aha moment which says, this is what my passion is. And if you have ADHD, trust me, you will even do better with that, because once you know what your passion is, that's what was with me always, something that you like, once you start doing that, then you don't want to stop. So that second point, which I think I've already discussed, that's like break it down into micro steps. And that's what we do. It's when I'm writing my book, obviously with my mindset, the way I am, I had become an author all of a sudden, and I was going to write a book, but then that feeling goes away in half an hour. So again, you write those 5 sentences. You write 200 words, and then the 201st word becomes easier. So that's You have your passion, you have broken down, now create your external structure. Now, it could be a parent, it could be a friend. For me, it was my wife who helped me so much with my structure, even to date. I sometimes will wake up not knowing what today is. But we need a structure. When you have an external structure, from writing down on a board as to what your day is going to look like, or creating a calendar for yourself, or having a buddy who can help you with as to what have you done today. That is the external structure that you need. Then you have to reframe your failures as a feedback. Now, for me, I'm very thankful for the failures because I had so many failures. Each one of them taught me. Again, you need to have the resilience. But each one of my failures taught me how to do something different tomorrow. How not to do what I did. That's one thing I can assure you. I was brought up by my father, who continued to tell me the failures are the pillars of success. You see, if you did not try anything, if we do anything, then how are we going to find fail or success? But failures only happens to those who try certain things. So that's again very important part. You gotta have your passion, and you gotta break it down in micro steps, and then on those micro steps, there's things which do not work out. Forget about the external factors. Forget about the people. Forget about even people telling you that no, you cannot do it. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you will have failures. Accept it. Clean it up. Find what worked, what didn't work, and then redo it. So to me, the failures have always been the greatest teachers. They will teach you, even when you're graded in an exam, when you give a paper, in my days, at least the professor or teacher will come back and basically circle things that you did not say right, that you did not put properly. Those are failures. That's the failure, right? So you have failed to give certain points, and the professor or the teacher has circled them or given you a pointer saying this is what you need to do. So it's the same thing in the life. If it's a business, if it's a project, whatever it is, you need to go back and look at your failures and see what your failures have done for you. And that will help you. Now, then you got to reward yourself. So that's really a self-explaining. There is nothing we do in our life without getting a reward. Now, for me, many times, just of having the success was the reward. And for a lot of us, it's like that, because you see, success will bring you things that you're looking for, and that is the reward. So there's a need, there's a want, and at the end of the day, if you're getting all your needs, if you're looking after all your wants, then you have succeeded, then you have done giving yourself, then you're rewarded yourself. So these are just the small things. Like, my whole purpose of doing my podcast is to try and reach out to those who need to know that it is very simple. You don't need great jargons. My grandmother thought that I was possessed with the devil because she didn't understand that these were ADHD traits. Today we do understand that. So it's all, we are getting so much out. We're getting so much out there. And that's all I want to teach. That's all I want to say. I want to tell you about, I do a lot of research on these things because I just love doing research on that. I have all the time to do this, and that's what I do. So when I learn this, I want to tell you about it, and when I do it with my experiences, and as to what I would say to myself, what I would say to my younger self, how would I have reacted at that time. I did it. I lived a great life. I am living a great life. I've been an entrepreneur who has done extremely well. I've been a great family man. I have a wonderful family. I wrote a book, and now I'm doing the podcast. All this in a hope that I can help somebody, that I can help a young person or somebody who's struggling with the business. But it's all it takes, because once your mind is open, because once you know what you want to do, there's just so much available. There's just so much help available out there. But you need to have that. You need to take that first step. You need to go out with the ADHD or no ADHD. With anything. Grit. Angela Duckworth, the professor who talks about it, and I request that you read her book on grit, and I request that you listen to her, because she explains it so well. I'm saying, here's the lady who decided that she is going to pivot from being a psychologist to teaching young people, because she felt that she could teach so much to these young people as to what grit is all about. What is the perseverance with the passion? Because when you are young, you have so much to give. You have so much energy. You have so much. You want to do so many things. Now, if you could be put to that right direction, how many great things you can do. And that's my purpose. That's what I want to do. So, if you like what I'm talking about, please subscribe to my channel. If you think somebody can use this podcast, please forward to them. And please stay gritty. Just continue. Just think about the grit. Continue to do it. Till next time, I'm Aslam Katri, wishing you a gritty 30 days.